We are live now, Matt.
We
Welcome
are
to
now
episode
live.
37 of InfoSec to Insanity. Tell me about your insanity and where did it come from and what are you doing about it? Start at the top. Start at day one. Let's go back to the womb. Do you recall such days?
I do not. Nope.
It was wet. It was warm. You were there.
Probably dark. Probably a little sliver of light shining in, opening and closing, I would imagine.
Yeah, I don't know. That's how I understand it. Yeah.
I've never had kids, so I don't know what it looks like either. So
Yeah.
I
Well,
imagine you have some experience there.
5 kids. I didn't birth them. Marlis did that.
You're there. You see the things. You know how it goes.
No, I saw it once. I can't
After that, you're like, I'm out.
Yeah, I can't ever unsee that, man. It's ingrained in my. Yeah. It changed everything about everything for the rest of my life. Yeah. I never think of the things the same way as I thought of them. Yeah, it's a fucking weird experience. Well, then, since we're talking about this and I have ADHD, I feel justified to continue the conversation. When Lydia was born, the last one, it was an emergency C-section.
Is that scary?
Yeah, it was super scary for me because, you're sitting in there and the doctors are struggling and you're like, what the hell's going on, and everything. And then like all in a hurry, they take her out of the room, my wife. And I'm like, and they don't.
Just like away from you. They're just like.
Oh. Yeah, because I guess it was really an emergency. So then they didn't tell me anything about it. And I'm like, what the hell? And then one of the nurses looked back and like, oh shit. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, oh, we need to do a C-section. And I was like, okay. So they put me in scrubs and everything, or a gown. I don't know what it was. And then I go into the emergency room and they like put up this, what do you call it? Like a shield or something?
Or
screen.
sheet?
Yeah. Sheet. Yeah. Like right at her chest. So you can't see anything happening, down there.
Because you're standing by her
head. Yeah. Well, and the doctor said, don't look over here. And what do you do when somebody says that?
Fucking look, of course.
100%. I mean, if you wouldn't have said anything, dude, I would have been fine. But no, you said don't look over here. So I look over and it's like you see in the movies. When somebody cuts somebody open, and pulls it out and a little alien comes out of there. That's what it looked like. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And again, I can never look at my wife the same way. It's just weird. It's super weird.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So there we are. We're talking about birthing at the beginning of episode 37. It's Thursday night. We're live. Me and Matt. We have no guest today. Last week was fun. We had John join us. He's a pretty cool dude, I think, right?
Yeah. Awesome guy.
Yeah.
Maybe he's got me spiraling. His wisdom from last week got me thinking about things.
He done wisdom you all out?
Wisdom, yeah, maybe.
What I'm tired is a son of a gun, man, because I flew up to Minnesota again to give the keynote at SecretCon, which is a pretty damn cool conference. Did you go to that last year? No, you were with me.
I was with you, and you were supposed to keynote, and you were like, shit.
I know. I totally forgot about it. And so, yeah, Mike, he was happy to see me, I think. But I don't know, it
sounds like a cool conference.
It was pretty cool. I mean, a lot of hackers, a lot of, different variety of folks. Yeah, it was a good talk. It was about, the title of the talk was Glitch Happens, Thriving in Chaos and Complexity, which is a place I've always kind of felt comfortable because I think ADHD sort of makes you, I don't know, it feels like it's kind of in sync when that happens. But it's also, ADHD people can, I think, being that they do feel so uncomfortable that you don't feel the effects of it as much. So like burnout and addiction, medicating, shit like that comes, if you don't do it right. But it was a really good talk, a lot of wisdom. And
a lot of questions or people talking to you afterwards?
Oh, yeah, shitload people. Yeah. People asking for a copy of the deck and everything. But I was partially the reason I'm tired is because I didn't have my deck done until like maybe an hour before.
I've heard you and Chris and others talk about that. Like, I'm making my deck up until like 5 minutes till before I'm talking.
I don't know why we do it because it ain't healthy. You're tired. So then you get to the conference and it's weird because, so many people come up to you and it's like, I don't know who these people are, man. And I feel like I don't, and I feel like I'm supposed to know who they are. Like you're talking to me like I'm supposed to know who you are.
They know your name, but you don't know them.
Right. And so, and I never feel comfortable with that because I'm like, yeah. So, hey, man, it's good to finally meet you in person. I'm like, that's cool. Who are you? And, what do you do? Where do you work? And shit like that. And, yeah, there's some people there from the CISSP mentor program. One person asked me if I would be her mentor.
That's cool.
Well, yeah, but dude, I mean,
That's what you
I'm,
started the whole thing for, though, right?
yeah, but not to be like your personal mentor because you know what I mean. That's a commitment. You don't want to overpromise. You don't want to, So I was like, well, you gotta figure out what kind of mentor you want, and get the right kind of mentor to fit with what you need, and so you're not disappointed. I'm the kind of mentor where, yeah, if you get a hold of me and and you can corner me and then then I'm good, but I'm not very reliable. I'm not good with responding to messages and shit. So I mean, if that's the kind of mentor you want and you're okay with that, I'd be more than happy to help you. But you know I always feel like I let people down because I can't do that very well.
You have all the wisdom.
Yeah, you got the wisdom, but if you can't figure out the right way to share it, just kind of get stuck. But that was what today was all about, right? It was about sharing wisdom about the battles in the trenches, in the chaos, and I learned a lot when I put together this talk. Actually,
You're
I
just
didn't know there was a
reflecting on
difference.
things.
Yeah, because it forces you sometimes to just sit back and like, oh yeah, shit, I forgot about that. You know what I mean? Like I forgot about the difference between complicated and complex. Those are two different things. You know.
I'm not tracking.
Well, complicated. Well, they're similar words, and we use them interchangeably. And the reason why I went down this path was, if you want to figure out how to thrive in complexity, you have to understand what complexity is. The main difference between complicated and complex is complicated is linear. It's just a lot of linear, right? Complicated things can be solved. There's only one solution to a complicated thing. Like take a car engine. You can put that back together again. You can solve it. There's a lot of pieces to it, but you can build
It's
it.
complicated.
It's complicated. Same with like an airplane. Also complicated, or firewall rule set, in an enterprise that can be complicated. They're linear problems to solve, but they're solvable. They take commitment, whatever. Whereas complex things are not linear. They're in a relationship of a whole bunch of things. Some of those things are more closely related than other things, but you can't really solve complex things.
You're talking about like integrating things and how they spider out and touch
Yeah,
many different things. And if you touch this, that's fucked. Don't touch that.
yeah, yeah. And complex things you don't solve. They're not solvable problems. They're manageable problems, but they're not solvable problems.
Unless you burn it and start over.
I guess. Yeah, you could do that for sure.
Lose a lot of money, but could do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it was. And I'm an introvert too, man. So every time you go to one of these talks and, all these people want to talk to you, I'm just fucking exhausted. And then some of my team was there and they're like, hey, let's go hang out at this thing after. And I'm like, what's
Executive team or just like company people?
the one who invited me was an executive, Drew. Drew was like, hey man, there's this river, not river, this Lake Minnetonka, like social cruise thing with this group. I guess it's Senior Information Manager Sim group or something like that, like a local chapter. I guess it's a big deal. I've never heard of it before, but he's like, I got an extra ticket. You want to come? You want to come? And I'm like, you can't come all the way out to Minnesota and then one of your team wants to hang out with you and tell them no. So I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
And you have to defend your time and
Right. And I get my time when I get back on the fucking plane and head home.
that's how you balance it, right? There's no right or wrong way to do it. I think that's part of the conversation of mental health and burnout, though, is, do you have to say yes to everything?
No. No, man, good point. You're right. So I did go to that. That was cool. But
Riverboat gambling trip.
there was no gambling, I don't think. They give, drink tickets. I gave my 2 drink tickets to somebody else. It's crazy. Every time, I swear, every time I come to Minnesota,
Did you
at least
jump off
last,
and show them how to swim? Like I'm
no,
a professional swimmer.
I was too tired. They could tell I was tired too because I was just sitting in the corner like, hey, how you doing? And they're like, so who are you? I'm like, I'm Evan. Oh, and what do you do? Charity. When's the food? But the last few times I've come back to Minnesota, they've like when at the company Christmas or company like full company party that was last Friday. It was over at the Mall of America. It was Whirly Ball.
Well, that shit's weird, man.
Yeah. Well, I get pretty competitive too. So and my kids were there, because one of my kids works at FR Secure, and then one of my sons-in-law works at FR Secure, and so it kind of becomes almost like a family affair kind of thing, and we get kind of competitive. So we were playing whirly ball, and we're kicking some ass, and then the next morning, it took me 20 minutes to get out of bed. So fucking sore. I was like, oh shit, dude, I don't know what the hell I did to myself. I'm 54 years old. I'm not playing whirly ball anymore.
My hand-eye coordination sucks, so I can't pick up the thing.
It's hard to get the ball off the ground
I
with
just
that.
I get more frustrated at myself than I do competitiveness.
Yeah. The 20-year-old, so Lydia came with me and Marlis, my wife, up here last week for, we had some executive meetings and, things like that. And then we had the company party and met with my other kids. And then she wanted to go. So our flight was leaving at 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. That means you had to leave the hotel about 4 in the morning, to get to the airport. Lydia Saturday was like, I'm going to go hang out with my friends. I'm like, all right. I said, 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm leaving with or without you. Well, she didn't make it.
And did you really leave?
I really left her. Yeah.
Nice.
Not only did I leave her because Marlos was really upset about it. Not at me, just at
Lydia for not
I,
planning it.
I actually look forward to it because this
The
kid
learning thing.
oh my God, this kid needs to learn. You need some pain. You know what I mean? It's not pain where I want what's bad for you. It's pain where I love you. Shitty choices have consequences.
Well, plus it was a calculated decision, right? It's not like you're in another country. She's like got friends. There's other family around. It's not like she's totally.
No. Well, and even if she was, I mean, am I going to miss my flight and my wife is going to miss her flight and I got to recoordinate everything on the other end of this, right? The people watching the dogs, all this shit because my daughter's irresponsible, who's 20 years old, by the way. No. So I was like, all right, I was actually looking, I was kind of, like I said, a part of me was excited about it because she needs to learn some lessons. And Marlis, we're like getting ready, to leave. She's like, are you going to pack her bags for her? I'm like, no, they're staying exactly the way she left them. And she's like, well, shouldn't we take the bags to the front? I'm like, no, not doing anything. I'm leaving. None of this is my job. It's all about roles and responsibilities. It's all about learning and holding each other accountable. So we went to the whatever, and then Lydia texted me. I don't know what time she texted me, but she's like, I'll come get my stuff. It was before we got on the plane. So it must have been like 7 o'clock, right before the plane was leaving. She's like, oh, I'll go to the hotel and get my stuff. I'm like, yeah, do whatever you want. And then we had a layover in Los Angeles and I saw that, because we have Life 360, just for safety things and whatever. And I saw that she was still out, 20 miles west of here. This is the same hotel we stayed
Yeah.
at. So she's 20 miles west of here. And it's like 11 o'clock, 11 o'clock in LA. So it was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that. Oh yeah. And so I texted her like, yeah, I should tell you, I can't remember exactly what I said in the text, but it was like, your shit is still, it's still there. I don't know what housekeeping does with it, but you're gonna have to figure that out. Anyway, so she's still here.
Just hanging out now, stuck in America, basically.
Yeah, well, she's got her passport and all that.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, I mean that's interesting
Yeah. Well, and she
because now
hasn't.
if she wants to fly back, she's got to buy her own ticket, basically.
Yeah, I'm not booking anything. I mean, you're 20 years old, dude. This is so past time for me to be doing things like this for you. So it's good.
Interesting.
It's good, tough love, but it is love, right? We got to hold each other accountable. Same thing we do at work, right? Hopefully, we're doing that with our teams. They need to be held accountable. You have a job to do, and I'm clear on communicating what that job is. And if you can't complete that job, then we either have to adjust. I'm asking you to do something that's, maybe just unrealistic. Maybe I need to train you up a little bit, so that, I free you up, give you more time to get that job done. But at the end of the day, if you ain't going to get the job done and you can't get the job done, or you refuse to get the job done, why the hell are you here?
Paycheck.
Yeah, and that
It's
doesn't do
security.
anybody
You
any
make
good,
a
right?
lot of money, man. So they say.
Have you ever wondered, like I don't know what you get paid. We never talked about that before, but numerous times I've talked to peers, like, I can't believe they pay me this much to do what I do.
I think about that. I mean, some days my calendar is like not full, and I go through my list like I'm waiting on this person, waiting on this person, this thing's done, this thing's done. Like I don't know what else to do. When I try to find stuff to do, or like that's when I find problems and I get myself in trouble. So I just like sit back and it's like, what the fuck am I getting paid for? Because I feel like I'm not contributing at that point.
Well, even when I'm contributing, a lot of the things I'm doing are just common sense shit.
Yeah, that's the
I'm
thing.
not reinventing wheels here. I'm not like solving crazy ass problems. It's the same sort of thing that we should have been doing from the beginning. When I'm actually billable, they keep me off of projects now because, there's a lot better options and shit for you. And plus, when they do bill me out, they bill me out at $450 an hour. It's
Crazy.
like and some people will pay it. It's like, no, no, no. Raise it higher so they, to a point where they're not going to pay it anymore. They'll be like, no
Just
way.
pick someone else that gets an opportunity, right?
Right. Yeah, totally. All right. Anyway, so that's all good catch up stuff. What's new with you? Did you leave any family members behind? Any new tattoos?
Didn't leave family members behind. Don't really talk with the family. Family, got smaller this year. I'm getting a new tattoo tomorrow. Tomorrow's 2.5 days, 2.5 years, sorry, of sobriety. So,
Dude, that's so fast. It seems like it was like yesterday, dude.
dude, it fucking was yesterday.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that, right? I mean, our main topic for tonight's podcast or this podcast is healing isn't linear. So
Yeah,
your 2.5 years of this healing, it'll be interesting to talk about that.
I think this is a quote from your blog. Some days I'm fine, some days I'm a disaster in a hoodie. Healing, yeah, I'm a fucking mess.
Is that what I wrote?
Maybe. That's what the AI pulled out when I did the thing.
It sounds like something I would write. But yeah, I wrote this because we're continuing down the path of this mental health awareness stuff. Again, for people who don't know the background, May was Mental Health Awareness Month. Very early on in May, I felt motivated to write some things about it. Ended up writing 10, 11 blog posts about it. And since then, we've been taking each episode and kind of dedicating it to one of those topics. And I think this is number 6, maybe number 7 on this path. Something like that.
Feels like we've been doing it forever.
Yeah, I mean, mental health, like shit. I thought we solved this already.
Yeah, I thought the trauma.
So is mental health complex or complicated?
Complicated. I think it's complicated.
No, it's not linear.
I think it's solvable, though.
That's the main thing between complex and complicated is linear. It's not solvable. How could you solve it?
We're doing it. Just talking.
We manage it. It's not solved. If you and I stop talking, it'll come back.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, Evan, stop fucking splitting hairs.
Stop fucking ruining it. Yes, no, that makes sense.
All right, well, let's keep going. Let's talk about what the fuck happened this week. I've got some stories for you.
Okay.
You ready for the first one?
Have them.
All right. So the first one is, what am I going to pick? All right, Israel, Iran. Here's the title: Israel Iran cyber spillover looms. If you haven't been watching, with escalating airstrikes between Israel and Iran, cyber tensions are lighting up. Experts warn of spillover digital attacks targeting U.S. infrastructure and corporations. Most Iranian activity has been disinformation and distributed denial of service so far, but this can and probably will escalate quickly if the U.S. weighs in militarily. So, as a security person, this is something I would keep an eye on because right now the United States isn't actively involved in any of the military operations, but they're certainly positioning themselves like they could. And if we start flying some sorties and start dropping some bombs and shit, I would expect some, not only from Iran, I would expect an uptick in most nation state.
Yeah. China, Russia. Yeah. Korea's kind of been quiet for a while. Who knows?
Korea's so busy with this. Korea's making the shitload of money on cryptocurrency.
Well, speaking of crypto, it seems there's an article here. It looks like one of Iran's largest crypto exchanges got hacked.
Israel did that.
Yeah, 90 million jacked.
Yeah, it's it's crazy, man. You know, you watch some of the stuff, and it's like, duh, what the hell? It's like, how many of the world leaders do we have that have the emotional intelligence of a fucking 12-year-old?
I would probably just say a monkey.
I mean, it's crazy. It's like, what? And just cooperate with shit. I mean, stop this stupid. Anyway,
I kind of like the idea that we're not jumping in right away, I think.
that could happen anytime. Last I heard, within the next
Yeah.
2 weeks, Trump is going to make a decision. Anytime within the next 2 weeks.
I like the idea of defending the homeland, having been in two Middle Eastern wars that fucking resulted in absolutely nothing. I'm kind of over it. We just need to focus on ourselves, but we've positioned ourselves to be the fucking world police.
America, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Fighting to save the motherfucking day now.
It's
Have you seen
me,
that
it's
movie?
me, it's me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's we have to keep track of these things like because I'm not into politics at all. I think politics is bullshit. You know, that's why I left corporate America and started my own business and did my own shit. It was a big motivation for it. But these things will affect us, right? There will be spillover. There will be more targeted, and I think more frequent attacks from nation state actors if the United States does get involved.
Anything they can
Something to watch out for.
disrupt is useful to them. Doesn't
Right.
matter what it is at this point.
And I read something else, and this isn't one of my what the fuck happened this week's topics, but because I didn't get a chance to read enough about it, but it was China's been hacking Russia and stealing their military secrets since 2022.
Interesting. Thought
Right.
they were kind of friends, but
I know, isn't
guess
that crazy?
there are no friends on the playground, I guess.
No, nobody likes nobody.
What did you think about the Marines going into LA? Did we talk
Dude,
about that last week?
no, I stayed out of that because from an information security, cybersecurity perspective, I don't think it's really relevant, and
I
it's a
suppose. Yeah.
and it's a politically charged fucking
Yeah.
nightmare.
The time bomb.
Yeah. So I mean, you and I could definitely talk about that off
Okay.
to the side because I do think it's important to process that stuff and hear other people's perspectives on it. All
Roger.
right, number two, WestJet. WestJet breach. Canada's WestJet suffered a cyber attack that compromised internal systems and caused intermittent booking issues. No flights were grounded, but passenger data might be at risk. This is what makes it a big deal. This comes just as the G7 summit in Alberta focuses on cybersecurity. Coincidence? Probably not. WestJet.
They just posted an update. So they actually have a website for advisory cybersecurity incident. You don't see that very often with their own website. It says they took immediate action to
Of course they did.
safeguard. They're working as quickly as possible to Assess data in scope. Get the fuck out of here. No one knows where their data is. Good luck with that.
Yeah. Number 3, Washington Post. The journalists actually were attacked or targeted. This is interesting because it's the journalists themselves that were targeted. So a limited cyber intrusion hit the Washington Post. Attackers accessed some reporters' Microsoft email accounts. It's believed to be a nation-state operation. It prompted a full credential reset. It highlights how journalists covering national security remain hot targets.
I mean, that definitely feels like a China thing. China, like Saudi Arabia, those kind of countries like to go after reporters.
Yeah, for sure.
That's interesting.
I had to sneeze. I think I'm
Were they
coming down with like a, I don't know, cold. That would suck.
case of the itis?
I
You
don't want
got
a
the
fucking
itis.
cold. What were you going to say, man, before I sneezed?
I don't remember.
All right.
Anyway.
Here's another one, AI-powered threats and scattered spider. So cybercrime is ramping up with AI. We knew this was going to happen. We predicted this was going to happen. It's like, okay, yeah, no big deal. But threat actors are layering malicious AI tools on top of existing models for phishing and code exploits, plus the notorious scattered spider group. If you don't know who that is, they've been very active in the ransomware world. It's ransomware as a service world. They've shifted focus from retail to U.S. insurance firms. Interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was, I mean, that was a pretty interesting headline, but if you think about it, it just makes logical sense
Yeah,
to target them.
for sure. And AI, I mean, this is it's becoming more and more common, right? It's not surprising to anybody, I don't think, who's been watching, but it is becoming more and more common
I
and
saw
expect
this
it to be.
dude, he posted on LinkedIn, I used my own GPT model and I automated everything in Kali Linux. I was like, cool. So we don't need to hire pen testers anymore because I can just do it all myself. And he was like, no, you still need me. I'm like, for fucking what?
Yeah,
To clean up my Active Directory that I already know is dirty? I don't need you to tell me that. I
right.
don't need you to tell me my shit's outdated.
I don't need you. I need some penetration testers, some real skill. Yeah. All right, number 5. This one you just mentioned a little bit, the crypto heist and global breaches. An Iranian crypto exchange lost around $90 million in a hack. Meanwhile, LinkedIn had 6.5 million passwords leaked.
Fucking LinkedIn didn't tell me shit.
No, of course not. It's Microsoft. That's who owns LinkedIn. 6.5 million passwords leaked and millions of records were exposed in China's largest ever data breach. This is still building off of that 4 billion some odd records that were
Snowflake, right?
definitely shaping up to be a scorcher for data spills. We're like, it's Juneteenth
Halfway.
today, by the way. We
Yeah.
should celebrate. Yeah. At least
Juneteenth.
say, yeah, I mean, that's a big deal, right? So happy
The
Juneteenth to
stock
people.
market is closed on Juneteenth, so
Our
good
office
job
was
on
actually closed, FR Secure's office.
good job on the work getting that to be recognized. Took a lot of good work.
All right, so June, bad for data breaches. But I mean, what month in the last 20 years has not been a bad month for data breaches?
Yeah. So check this out. We talked about the 23andMe thing a couple weeks ago. They were supposed to have fines or whatever. It seems like they went to court and shit, and the fine is now $3.13 million. So let's put this in perspective. There is 7 million people DNA impacted, and they're being fined $3 million. That means your DNA, which identifies you, who you are as a human, is worth like 50 cents. That's what they're telling you. You as a person are worth 50 cents. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, and it's
DNA, yes. That is unbelievably, that's more disgusting than the that other one, the credit monitoring company, whatever one that was, Equifax. There you go.
Equifax. Yeah.
Yeah, that's more disgusting than that.
You're inspiring me to I'm taking notes. There's a couple of blog posts I want to write. And one of those is and I'm updating a blog post that's coming because I just, every once in a while, like it usually happens, you just get this inspiration like when you're driving the car or something, or when you're talking to a friend. Like that last one where I said AI is not your friend. That one came from a discussion with a friend, and so did the last blog post on doesn't even matter. And then today I was thinking, there's a lot of people that subscribe to my blog now. It's kind of weird. No, one of them is the day you realize that you're the problem. Because that came up in a conversation today when I was talking to somebody. We were talking about addiction, and it was after,
Sure.
and that's because that's when I finally
You have to
changed.
accept it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I finally changed. Was like when I ran out of other people to blame, and then I realized that I was the problem. And this is where it came up in the conversation was there was another speaker who had sat in my keynote, and afterwards he's like, "Man, you and I see things eye to eye and all this stuff." I'm like, "Good, man. I want I like connecting with people that are in this game for the right reasons. So tell me your jam and whatever." He's like, my talk is about how we complain about users all the time, but really we're the ones to blame. We say, he goes, I do, you go to DEF CON, you go to Blackhead, you go to these conferences and people are bitching about, security people are bitching about the users. But we're the ones who design the system this way, essentially set them up to fail. We're the ones that deliver the emails with the shitty links in them. We're like, don't we have some fault in this?
I
And that
don't
got
even like the term users anymore. Just call them fucking employees. Why is that so hard?
right. Well, so that got me thinking about that blog post. And then there's another blog post that I've been thinking about writing for a while, but I keep forgetting about it. But you just reminded me. It's one of the big reasons. I'm going to postulate that one of the big reasons why we don't have accountability in this. What?
Postulate. I like
Yeah,
it.
it's a word, isn't it?
I don't know, but it sounds
I'm a
good.
fucking author, dude.
You are.
Get off my shit. Postulate. If it's not a word, I just made it.
No, it is a word.
Did I use it right?
To propose a hypothesis or an explanation.
That is exactly what I meant.
You are way smarter than I am.
Dude, I postulate like a motherfucker. So yeah, so I was postulating by myself in the dark.
With a belt.
No,
I mean,
I didn't go that far, dude. That's how you postulate. That's not how I postulate.
No.
So I've been thinking about this for a while that, we struggle with this accountability thing. And, in this industry with information security, with data breaches, all this shit, like, why don't we hold people accountable for, executives, boards of directors, who are the ones who are ultimately responsible for information security in any organization, right? They don't suffer. You just mentioned 33andMe or 23andMe.
They get fat ass parachutes, man.
Well, right. And and I've talked to enough lawyers and I've done enough breach work and shit over the years. I postulate that the reason why there's no accountability is because the lawyers don't want there to be. They're making a shitload of money. Honestly, every one of these big settlements, they're the ones that get rich. The people whose data it belonged to, the data, whatever, they don't get shit. But the lawyers like it, I think.
Equifax, if you applied, I think you got like fucking $7 or something.
Right. So I'm going to write a blog post about that because I think, and like I said, I'm postulating, it's a hypothesis. It's something to discuss and poke holes in it. If you want, it'd be interesting to get a lawyer to come on here, a cybersecurity lawyer, to come here and talk about this with us. Because
to get that guy that's doing the thing about that guy who's faking his whole career.
Guys doing a thing to talk about the guys doing another thing that shouldn't have been doing, and that they did those things together and shit.
Yeah, at that place on the thing. Yep.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a good day. Yeah. Anyway, all right, let's get to the topic, man. So, do you have anything else to add for what the fuck happened this week?
Someone in the chat brought up a Google breach, Apple and Google breach. Did you hear about this? Largest breach of password databases. I don't know. Maybe
I saw something like that on the newsfeed, but I didn't read it. What do you know about it?
16 billion login credentials is what.
Oh, that's it. 16 billion.
16 billion. That's no big deal. So my guess. So this says it's coming from government accounts, Apple, Google, Facebook, all the things. It's probably part of Snowflake. Then would be my guess.
Was it credentials?
Yeah, it's
So it's a
credentials.
password dump. So
Preach.
without reading it, I haven't dug into it. I will, but I'm guessing it's a dump of the hashes. It's not.
Yeah,
It's not a dump of the actual passwords. So if you had chosen a strong password, if you go by, I mean, what I always preach is strong, especially when you're postulating. Did you catch that joke?
no, I was reading.
I said long is strong, especially when you're postulating.
I would agree. Strong is good.
But that's the number one thing, and it's mathematical, right? Because as long as your password isn't a dictionary word, dictionary attack. If I'm attacking passwords, you always start with dictionaries. Because a dictionary comparison, it's super light on the CPU, super fast. You run through it, and then you usually use like rainbow tables, and rainbow tables are just dehashed, or yeah, basically dehashed passwords.
Predefined. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're big files. But the only attack that's guaranteed to work is a brute force, which is going through every single combination of characters to get your password. And the key space, so if you do, like, let's say my password is 50 characters long, and let's say that I only get two choices. No, actually, let's just say it's just lowercase letters, A to Z. That's 26, right? So that would be, if my password is 50 characters long, it'd be 26 to the 50th.
The big
So
number.
26 times 26 times 26, 50 times. And that's essentially the space, the key space for the brute force attack. And it would take a computer, even a dedicated password rig, years. That's only, and so there's no complexity in that. But if I throw complexity into it too, so say uppercase and lowercase, well, now the 26 became 52. So 52 to the 50th, right? It's much bigger. If you throw in numbers, well, then add 10 more onto it. If you throw, other complex character sets and things, I mean, it just gets more and more difficult. But the key to password strength is long is strong.
Entropy.
So,
Just math.
so if you dumped, so let's say that 16 billion passwords were dumped. Really, what was dumped was the hashes. If I'm
There can't be 16 million unique or 16 billion unique in there. No fucking way.
no, no, but if myself have chosen a long password, a strong password, chances are really good that my password, unless there's a collision, that's a whole other thing that we don't need to get into here, but that's just a weakness in the hash functions. But I'm pretty safe. But another thing comes into play, that I haven't reused my passwords, because then I'm susceptible to a password spray attack, which is just another technique that we would use. But so, I mean, if you're choosing good, strong passwords, long passwords, and you're following just basic password hygiene shit, then you really don't have to worry about that. But it is pretty fucking sensational. 16 billion. That's a hell of a lot, right?
It is.
That's like more than like five. Yeah. It's less than
Yeah.
like 17 billion.
It's greater than the world's population.
16 billion. That's crazy. So it's got to be like the entire, I mean, because if you think like Apple, how many accounts do you think they have? Like they have a master database, like a
I
centralized
still have a
master database
database
of,
of my old ass iTunes account from fucking like 2010. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's shit out there long forgotten that people aren't using anymore.
yeah. You know what I saw today? I had so much like nostalgia at the, SecretCon, the hacker conference. I saw an Apple II.
Well, yeah, they do like to bring a lot of those old things.
Man, God, I have so many fond memories of Apple II. Did you ever play with an Apple II? Did you play any games? The best game ever on Apple II was Olympic Decathlon. Arrow keys, as fast as you could fucking do it. That's how you do the 100-yard dash. That's how you do like the javelin. And then you hit spacebar to get the guy to start, you know, pulling the
Lean
javelin.
in.
And you have to hit spacebar again to get him to throw it. So you go super fast, and you had to hit the spacebar far enough back from the line so that by the time he got up to the line, he was going to be at like
It
a
was
45-degree
right on it.
angle and smack it again to get like that perfect throw. I played that so much. I
I remember
broke.
doing that on Nintendo with the pad. I would just do track and field on the pad.
Oh yeah. Fuck. Yeah. Dude, I had a lot of fun with my Apple II. My parents brought it home. I broke the first one, broke the second one, and then I suffered a lot of consequences. And then I did not break the third one. Well, actually, I did shit too, but I didn't break it. That was ADHD.
That's what you do. You get in trouble, man. Fuck it.
You're curious. You got to dig into things. All right, so
All
healing
right,
is
let's pivot into something more uncomfortable than breaches. Let's pivot into some healing, Evan.
healing, Evan.
Evan Healing.
Yeah, just
Sounds like a cool name. Evan Healing.
I changed my name.
Maybe.
What
My
was that,
cat's
Rana?
being really weird right now. She's like, she's 2 feet from the wall and she's staring at the wall. There must be a bug on it or something.
Yeah. Hey,
Anyway,
do you ever watch basketball?
sometimes.
Ron
Like
Artest.
when the Bucks beat the Gophers and shit like that. I guess
The Bucks
Gophers
don't
are
play
basketball.
the Gophers at college, man. The Bucks are professional.
That's how much I watch basketball. All
I
right.
guess. There you go. All right. Well, I'm not going to go any more into that. That's good enough. Man, this cold is driving me crazy. I'm having trouble breathing. All right.
It's just
So healing.
northern air that's getting you. Got all that Canada smoke you don't get down there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of rain right now in Mexico where I live. Got like 2 inches today. It's raining pretty heavy. No rain here today.
We had a little.
All right, so let's talk about healing. How many guys do you know? Like you got guy friends. How many guys do you know that talk to each other about healing?
Very little.
Why?
Not manly.
Manly. The fucking ain't. Why isn't it manly? I mean, I cut my arm, I heal. I break my leg, I heal. I got some mental issues, I heal. As long as I address it. I think it's more manly. I think it's more manly to fucking focus on healing than it is to ignore it and be stupid.
I think people just aren't ready for those conversations. I think it's okay for them to not be ready. They'll be ready when they're ready. Maybe they won't ever be ready, which is part of the
So then what do we do? And this is actually the topic for next week. I think we talk about, what actually helps. Just speaking from my own experience, because there's certain things that when people have come alongside me and wanted to help me out, there's certain things that made the problem worse. We'll talk about that next week. I know that since I've been talking more about mental health shit, in this, because it almost doesn't even seem like it's an information security podcast. It's almost like you and I don't really work in that industry because we don't talk a lot about that, especially the last, 5, 6, 7 weeks. We've been talking about this mental health stuff.
Well, this is a complex topic.
Yeah.
Information security is not, it's complicated. It's fucking easy. We make it complex. So there's not really much. You just keep saying the same shit over and over. I think this is probably cooler.
Thanks, man. Well, I know it's good. It's good for me. And that's the reason why we did the podcast to begin with, right? It's good for my own mental health to process this stuff, to get this shit off my chest. Otherwise, it just builds up. It just keeps building up, and eventually you got to have a release. And the thing about, you mentioned, information security, computers are easy to secure, all of them, because they only do what the fuck we tell them to do. It's very linear. It's binary. It's very discrete. You put people into it, that's when it gets all crazy, because people aren't binary. People aren't discrete. People are complicated. People are complex because we're analog, right? And so there's no fix for it. There's no well, just turn it off. Just, you'll be fine. It doesn't work that way. So, and I'll share my own healing story, and then I want to hear yours, man. I'll just start with some of the shit, I've always been healing because I've always had issues. I've always had problems. And some of those problems are, I think more severe than other problems. And maybe I just talk about them more because I'm more self-aware about those things. But I always like to look at myself in the mirror first and try to be the best version of me that I can be before I start going after other people. Like, am I the fucking problem here? Because if I'm the problem, then why am I not going to go get on your shit about my problem? And maybe that's part of growing up in my military household with my dad, where I get your shit straight, right? So the ADHD, that's been an interesting road, all kinds of other shit. But I'll stick to just the alcohol, the alcohol problem. And so the healing didn't start until I focused on the healing. And I didn't focus on the healing until I admitted to myself or until I came to the conclusion that I was the problem. I ran out of people to blame. Every time I drank too much or, got in trouble, did some stupid shit, it was my ex-girlfriend's fault. It was my, friend's fault if he wouldn't have been such an asshole. Or it was, there was always somebody. It was the cops. It was their fault. I just have shitty luck. There was always some damn excuse. And that's the addiction thing, right? And then the last day I woke up in jail again. I've been to jail a lot, right? Not in 24 years since I started, I think focusing on being honest with myself. But that was the day, right? It was August 4th, 2001. That was the day I finally realized that I was the fucking problem. That's when the healing started for that problem, right? That disease, if you want to call it that. And yeah, at that time, my driver's license in Minnesota, and like most states, if you have a DUI, they suspend your license for a while. You got to meet certain requirements and then you get it back, or they unsuspend it. I was such a dipshit for all those years that they canceled my license. There was no suspension. They canceled it. And it was 3 years. And I lived, but that was part of the healing too, because the old Evan at that point would have been like, yeah, I can still drive. I just don't get caught.
Yeah. Yep.
But no, these were consequences, and I needed to step up and take my medicine. So for 3 years, I did not drive, not once. I had friends give me rides. My wife gave me rides, but I was committed to healing. Taking shortcuts isn't healing. Missing, your dose of consequences isn't healing. So I had to take that shit. Anyway, so lots of stuff along that path. And it was always ups and downs. There were some days that were certainly harder than others. I remember in the early days when I quit drinking, I would raid the pantry and eat an entire box of Twinkies
Carb
at
coma.
like 3 o'clock in the morning. Wolf them all down because my blood sugar was all fucked up from the alcohol. That was part of the healing. I had friends. I had a lot of wise people that gave me a lot of advice. One of those things I've shared before was an old man said, "Hey, you only got to change one thing." And to an addict, that's like music to your ears. Oh, an easy button? Fuck yeah, dude. What is it? Sign me up. I want to do it. He says, everything. Like, you fucking asshole. Really? What do you mean everything? Like, what? Everything. He's like, everything. like, give me some examples. He's like, your friends. Like, I gotta change my friends. What does that have to do with this? Because if you want to heal, you got to change your friends. And so, like, a few days later, I'd called one of my friends. I'm like, hey, and his name was Doug. I'm like, Doug, man, I'm done, dude. I can't do this anymore. I'm done drinking. I quit. I'm on the path, man. I'm going to get better. And he said, give it 30 days. You'll be back out there with us. And that's when what the old man said, it like sunk in, hit me like a ton of bricks. Dude's right. These aren't they're my party buddies, but they're not friends. Friends don't do that to each other. Like you and I, when we were friends, right? If I saw you doing things that were hurtful for you, I'd step in and say something like, dude, stop that shit. That's what love is, right? When I talk about my 20-year-old daughter and her having to learn to get her shit together, that's love. It doesn't feel like love because what feels like love is like, yeah, go, just keep going. I'll take care of you, blah, blah, blah. That's not love. You're fucking doing them a disservice, So anyway, there was another piece of advice that another old man gave me that was fucking killer, but I can't remember it right now. But it's
One that
definitely,
I heard was it's very easy. Just don't drink.
yeah,
Say what now? All you have to do is choose not to drink. Bitch, this is Wisconsin. Really?
yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing too. You have to change the places you go, the things you do. You have to pick up new hobbies. I mean, I remember the first time I went out with my family, and we went to the bowling alley. I had never ever been bowling without a beer. I was like, "What the? You can do what? How am I going to do this? How am I going to bowl without beer?" It was so fucking weird. I was like, I was shaking, and Marla's like, "You'll be okay. You'll be okay." I'm like, "Really? Like,
Need something
what
for
are we
the.
doing? We'll have a Sprite. I don't want a fucking Sprite." But anyway, so ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs. Some days are more of a battle, some days are less of a battle. And then came a day in Cancun. I was writing, I think I might have been writing this book. I don't know. I was doing something. And I was there by myself. I was there for 2 weeks. The first week was to focus on whatever project I was working on. It might have been the book or something else. The second week, Marlis and Lydia were going to come down and join me. And we're going to have, vacation. Well, like 3 days into that first week, I relapsed. And I hadn't relapsed before. And it wasn't like, well, I just had a couple of drinks. No, I went all in, which is the kind of drinker that I was. So I was out partying. I don't remember how I got back to the resort. I woke up and my eye was bloody and bruised. So there was no way I was going to hide it from my wife or anything. Um, and I was like, the fuck, and I was so unprepared for that. Um, I didn't know how to process it. I was so depressed. I was angry. I wouldn't say suicidal, but it was probably the closest I've ever been to suicidal because I was so fucking disappointed in myself. And I was so disappointed that I let my wife down. I thought I was healed or not healed, but thought I was stronger in this. I thought I had it. I thought I figured it out, that I'm doing all the right shit. But that's the thing. That's what I'm saying when healing isn't linear. I was doing well and then bam, the bottom comes out from under me and fuck, I'm in this pit. I'm not as far down as I was when I started, but it fucking hurt. And not just that, but I knew how much trust I lost with my wife, trust that I had worked my ass off to build. It took a long time to build all that trust with her. And then in one night, it's gone. Not all of it, right? But a significant amount of trust is gone with her, which, fucks up your intimacy. It fucks up everything in your relationship with your wife, the one that you love, right? It's like, fuck this. I was so mad. And so I was trying to process, like, what the hell? Why did I do it? I was driving myself crazy, for days, maybe weeks, maybe months. I don't even remember how long it was before I finally, I think I figured out why I did it. Not why I did it, but what led to it. And I think what led to it was 1, I was alone. 2, I was bored. And 3, I had time on my hands. Those 3 things came together at just the right time with where I was at. And I didn't see it. I didn't catch it. I wasn't paying attention, and I found myself in that spot, so I was like, all right, we know, we got it. So I don't know how many years ago that was. And then it's still, right, this ups and downs, trying to get that fucking trust back with my wife again. Just, all right. I mean, you don't start over again, but it's certainly like 100 steps back. And then 3 years ago, 4, not all that long ago, I relapsed again. Like, are you fucking kidding me? You know what I mean? And so anyway, that one, funky shit, whatever. So here I am, still healing, not done. It's not linear. It's all over the fucking place. And that's the point of the blog post. And that's just the alcoholism.
Every addiction is similar.
Every addiction and everything that you're healing is different. ADHD, same kind of thing. Some days you're under control. You're functional. Because the world wasn't like that. Like I wrote in that blog post, the world isn't built for AD. And so some days you fucking got to figure it out. Some days you get caught by surprise and you're like, what in the shit am I doing now? Some days I need to take my Ritalin. Some days I don't. And I think all mental health, I don't know, I'm not a mental health professional, but it seems to me like every mental health thing that I've dealt with has been similar in the fact that it's not linear. It's up and down. And if I'm not paying attention, if I'm not being situationally aware, there's nothing to stop me from relapsing again. Not that I'm going to, but I can't tell you I'm not going to. I need to pay attention. I need to stay focused on what it is that's healthy. So anyway, that's a long bunch of shit. But that's the truth. That's the honest, transparent truth about healing in my experience.
Experience.
Yeah. And so you're 2.5 years into this sobriety for yourself. Has it been linear for you?
So, I mean, I think this goes way back before 2.5 years. I was the guy, just like you had said, I'm all in. So someone has to be the guy, the one that passed out at the table, or the party guy that someone's got to fill that spot. It was always me. And then, so that was like in high school already, because Wisconsin. And then I joined the Marine Corps, and that's pretty much fight, train, drink, pretty much all there is.
Marines know how to drink, man.
That was, we weren't really aware of anything at that point because I was still in the military, still around people. I think it started to slide into formal addiction without awareness when I started going to college and when I lived by myself. I didn't interact on campus because I'm 26 years old. I'm going to class, don't live on campus, go home. I would drink, play vids all by myself at home. Why am I going to go to the bar? I'm not 21. I can drink at home by myself on the couch, be comfortable. I think that kind of put me on an early trajectory of just drinking alone. And then, fast forward a few years, I start identifying that, I don't want to do that. So now it's like I got it under control. I'm managing it. And when you start now looking back, if when I was using those terms, that's kind of a sign. Under control and management, that means there's a problem. Didn't want to admit it to myself. And then I had, because it never impacted work, right? I've been doing work
Right.
just fine.
Yeah, I never lost a job either, man. You crazy?
Never really had, like close friends or close with family, stuff like that, because I was the party guy. Then, so this is really interesting. Before I met you, so we went camping in Nebraska or whatever in like 23 before you moved to Mexico, and I had just bought a new car. But I got a new car because I crashed my other one. I had an excuse. I went out after work. I had a fish fry, had a couple beers, went to another place, had an after dinner drink, hit a pole in a parking lot. I blamed the rain and that I'd never been there before because I was a professional drunk driver. I'm from Wisconsin, whatever. Ended up getting a new car. Then I met you and started learning about, your journey. And then I have this picture thing that I bought when we were out on one of Evan's things. It's a
Adventures.
picture. Yeah, it's a picture of a dude at a strip club, but the strippers are like skeletons and it's called The Last Dance. So that foreshadows going forward like 2 more years or whatever, and I leave a strip club and I get pulled over and like no one to blame, myself, bad choice. I tried having an excuse, right? I thought I was tired, I was fine, whatever. But it's like I had so many chances, like something keeps giving me chances, right? I used to drink and drive all the time in the military. Like I drove back from Mexico after a full night of drinking there. Like so many chances. And when this happened, it felt like I got hit in the face with a fucking shovel because it was
Yeah.
wintertime. Like
Yeah.
my whole body was just like, "This is fucking it. Time to make a change." I went into lost my license for 8 months. We did a whole like I got I got a decent deal with a lawyer because I'm veteran, don't really get in trouble. Wisconsin's a little bit different. It's not a felony if you get your first DUI. It's kind of just like a moving violation. So I got super lucky there. No felony. Still lost the license. Still went to the outpatient stuff. Learned a lot there. Been doing therapy regularly for like 2.5 years now. So that kind of gets me to where I'm at right now. And am I still healing? Yes. I think there's still a lot of things that I'm still trying to identify, Like we talked a couple times before about like feeling the feels. I don't think I understand what half the shit that's going on. Like when we started, like I think I'm blah, but I don't know why. I can't pin it. I think there's just like a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know if it's one or everything. So we're just trying to be more aware of that. I don't know how to solve it, but super, super scared about relapsing. What they talked about in my class that I went to was like, if you relapse, it's not like you're going back and drinking for the first time. It's not like you start over with drinking. Your problem, they said, basically continues from where you stopped. So like knowing the outcome that I had at that time, the potential outcome is likely going to be worse. So that's pretty scary.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I mean, and I think one of the things that makes healing non-linear too is it's about people, it's about behaviors. There are common patterns, but there's not, the same things don't work for two people. You know what I mean? Like I have some friends who swear by like AA. I've never gone to AA. And I've had people tell me, well, if you don't go to AA, you're not going to get sober. I'm like,
I'm a lone wolf.
well, and it's not about AA. That's the healing, right? I think what's the healing
Is the
is
community to let you have
sure.
someone to talk to.
And I think that's helpful for sure. You know, I mean, I'm not ripping on AA at all, but I think that I've also seen people get over reliant on AA. Like they can't function without AA. So
It's like
that's,
another addiction because
yeah, that's
an
kind of dangerous
addiction
too.
is like a pie, and
Yeah.
when you are trying to heal, you take out that piece of pie, so you got to fill it with something. And if
Yeah.
that something is gone, it totally trips you up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've learned one of the things that, and I don't know if you've seen the same thing, but it seems like when you get honest with yourself and like, it's almost like scars, right? Like, like I have these scars and I don't know if people see them or what or sense them, but it seems like addicts attract addicts. Alcoholics attract alcoholics. You know, recovering alcoholics attract recovering alcoholics. It's like this weird thing because I did I have a lot of recovering addict, and alcoholic friends. And maybe it's because I've shared it, you know, openly before, and that attracted them. And now, you know, there's a something in common kind of thing. But some of my best friends today are just beautiful, addicty people. You know what I mean? Yeah, and that's and it's sad that you know, people feel that we have such a stigma that people don't feel comfortable talking about this. So then what do? You suffer in silence, or do you just go about your ignorance until it destroys you? Because that's where it goes.
Your
I
brain
mean,
is the worst place to house it.
yeah, yeah,
But
and
that's pretty much, I mean, I'm kind of hypocritical. I am kind of a lone wolf. I mean, maybe, I mean, I don't go to a community, don't have a whole lot of people to talk to, therapy, you, this, not much other than that.
but maybe that's part of your healing process, man. Maybe
Yeah,
that door opens when the time is right. I don't know.
yeah, it's very possible.
Yeah, but that's the cool thing.
Maybe I'm not ready for it or whatever.
Well, that's the thing that I think that sets the healing apart is this honest discovery. You know, there's no bullshit. There's no like trying to hide something. Like I'm actually trying to figure out how to fucking be a better person. What the fuck is wrong with that?
Nothing.
Right. Because the thing is, like, I'm never going to be the best. And you want to talk about imposter syndrome, right? People talk about, you know, they suffer from imposter syndrome. And I think a lot of imposter syndrome comes because I don't. I think the reason why I don't is I don't compare myself with other people. I think that's destructive. Because, and I also, I mean, logically, like, I'm never going to be the best security person. I'm never going to be the best CEO of a company. I'm never going to be the best friend to anybody. I'm never going to be the best dad. I'm never going to be the best husband. that's just reality. Because what does that mean anyway? You know what I mean? Compared to what? How do you measure that? I don't
There's no definition on paper.
know. No. But one thing I'm always going to be guaranteed of being the best at is the best me. There will never be a better me because there'll never be another me. So rather than focusing on trying to be the best husband, the best father, the best whatever, why don't I just focus on being the best me? If I'm truly focusing on being the best me, I will be the best father I can be. I will be the best friend I can be. I will be the best all these other things. But it has to be me. Focus on me.
When you're aligned with self, you're centered.
Right. And that's that's a tough one. I mean, you're 100%. But it's this balance thing because I think addicts like us, we don't understand balance very well. Certainly
It's
not
all or
ADHD.
nothing.
Yeah, because if you go too far, then you end up being your own worst critic. It can be really damaging too. It's just this honest, who am I? What am I trying to, taking
What is
ownership of
purpose?
shit? Yeah. Stop blaming other people. Like even in an argument, like, someday if you want to get married, I think it'll happen. You know what I mean? It's just time works its way out. But let's say you do, whatever. There are days when I swear my wife treats me like shit. I'm sure there's days when she swears I treat her like shit. What am I going to do about that? I can't change her. I can choose what I can do about that.
It's how you respond.
Exactly. So that it comes back to like being the best me I can be. The best me I can be would choose to love her regardless of how she's treating me because I'm committed to this lady. And maybe she's just having a bad day. I don't know what the fuck, but I'm going to be the best me I can be. When I'm, putting together this talk it just becomes like, I put together this talk for this keynote. I want to be the best me I can be on that fucking keynote. I want to be
Some
the
people in the chat earlier that saw your keynote, they said, great job.
Thanks. But that's the only thing you're ever going to be the best at. So why the fuck would I focus on all these other things? Why don't I just focus on being the best me? And isn't that healing? If I've got shit to deal with, if I want to be the best me, then get honest with myself and fucking deal with it. And that's when I hit rock bottom when I was talking about when the drinking stopped because I ran out of people that I could blame. That was the day when I finally woke up and was like, what the fuck are you doing? No, none of these people are the problem. I'm the damn problem. And if you want to take this to the information security stuff, how often are we the fucking problem? Yet we're
Most of the
blaming other
time.
people for it. You know what I mean? It's like there's parallels because I can't separate what I do at work, the security stuff that I do. I can't separate that from me. That is me. That's what I do. I don't find my identity in that shit, but it's certainly a product of the shit I do. You can't separate. Like, okay, I'm totally sober and I got all my shit together when I'm in the office. But as soon as I leave the office, man, it's game on. Let's go fuck some shit up and start fires and get drunk and race cars into trees. I don't
Shit
know.
up.
And you can do that for a little bit, because like you said, you didn't lose your job. I didn't lose jobs either. But yeah, it's a
Eventually
miracle.
it's gonna fucking run out. And I think, yeah.
Well, the last time was I was wanted in 3 counties, right? And it's crazy because like some of my, because I was a big biker too, and the biker guy's like, yeah, it's cool as hell, man. I'm like, fuck you, idiot. It ain't cool as hell. I mean, if I want to live my life in prison, yeah, it's cool as hell, but that's not my goal in life. So, but it was 3 counties, and I had a really good lawyer, and they decided to try everything in one county and just go with whatever that county decides. So instead of having to go to Goodhue County for destroying their park in my Jeep, Scott County, where I got the DWI, and Hennepin County, where I'd violated probation on the last DWI. I mean, it was the crazy shit. They canceled my license. They took my Jeep. It was a brand new Jeep, too. It was a really nice Jeep, Wrangler. I had it lifted, 33-inch tires on that thing. Man, I was badass.
A bunch of ducks in it. Was ducking a thing back then?
What's a ducking? What's that?
You have to look it up. Jeep ducking. That's a whole fucking thing these days. I had to look it up a couple weeks ago because like I've heard it before, but I couldn't remember. And I was driving down the road and like every Jeep I see has fucking ducks in it. And I'm like, what the fuck? Where is this coming from? And it reminded me
Yeah.
Jeep ducking. It's a thing of the Jeep community. If you do something nice, you leave a duck on their hood
All right.
and they put it on their dash. So
No, I didn't do
some
any of
that
that.
not back then, you were just
No.
living.
And you know, for normal people too, when they take your truck or take your Jeep or take your car, they put it in impound and you got to pay fines and shit to get it out. They weren't going to give me my Jeep back. They took it, confiscated it. It's up for auction. You're never going to see it again. It was like
We
$20,000
don't
Jeep.
want you driving. Your license done. Get the fuck
Yeah,
off the
so
road.
they'd lost patience with me too. So it was good that me and the state were on the same page. Like, you're holding me accountable because I'm the problem. I get it. I actually am the problem. So let's just figure out how to heal and get past all this shit.
Some people don't get there though, and that's I was thinking about that as you're talking. Like I'm
Right.
wondering why people don't get there, right? Because you have to get honest with yourself. I think we
Well,
don't get
how
honest
often?
with ourselves because we find that we're faulty. And if you watch movies, you watch TV, social media, we don't talk about our real lives. It's like we've talked about before. How you doing? I'm good. I'm good. So there's this perception that like if you're faulty, like it's shit. So we don't want to acknowledge to ourselves. Just put our head in the sand. It's easier.
Yeah, I don't know why people, and I think I know why some people do that stuff. I know that when I talk about it openly, there's a couple things I get for it. Number one is it frees me from it. When I talk about it, it takes the power away from it. Every time you talk about something, you're processing it. You know what I mean? You ever have those things that you just don't want to fucking talk about? You don't want to talk about it because you talking about it means you got to confront it and you got to process it. Some things are really fucking hard to process, but that's part of the healing. So number one is processing it. Another thing is I disarm other people. If I've already talked openly about some of the problems, issues that I have, how the fuck are you going to use that against me? You're now powerless to use what I just said against me because I've already acknowledged that publicly. So, which is nice because then if you worry about, well, what are people saying behind my back and blah, blah,
You're
fuck,
free.
I don't give a shit what they're saying behind my back. You know what I mean? Maybe it's something I haven't already talked about. Maybe I'd be interested in that. But, and the third thing, which is by far the most important thing for me, is it helps people. I've had so many people come up over the years and, thank me for sharing shit like this. And I want to set a precedent. Fuck the stigma. Let's talk about this shit. The stigma just kills people, man. And it's along the same lines of information security. Like my whole point, what gets me passionate about this and that is I hate seeing people suffer. I hate seeing people get taken advantage of. Right. And so, that's why, I talk the shit that I talk about, in information security.
Taking advantage of people.
Right. So, and how many conferences have I don't know, I don't think you've been to Black Hat or DEF CON yet.
Go
Should
to
you ever
many.
go? Yeah. There's a lot of medicating going on.
I've heard stories. I've heard some pretty crazy stories about early sales parties and if I jump in my time machine, the old me, the party me, fuck yeah, let's go. But now it's like, why should I even go? That's not what I want to do. I want I feel like I'm finding more. I want stimulating conversation or intellectual conversation. Like
You better watch it, man. You're gonna find yourself a nice girl.
what I've been around some people's like a couple weeks ago, they're just like talking about shit. I'm like,
Right. Right.
kind of
One, and with my kids, I mean, you start to really want, like I just said, I just want to be the best me I can be. And that sounds kind of corny and it sounds kind of like cliche. No, it's fucking true. I mean, that's it. I'm never going to be anything better than what I'm going to be. And I just want to be the best of me I can be. I mean, I only got so much fucking time to work on this shit. So let's do it. But I also want my kids, the people I love to be the best version of themselves. Like you. I want Matt to be the best Matt he can be. I don't know what the hell you're capable of doing, man, but I know that if you're healthy, you're going to do the best you can do. That's what love is, I think. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure all this shit out. Security, I know firewalls pretty well. If you got a firewall, you want me to take a look at. Did you ever get your firewall audit done?
They're finalizing the report next week, kind of what I expected. It's what I want. I need specific language in there to drive a specific change and specific projects for the future.
All right. Were you happy? Were you happy with the work so far?
We'll see. I always have different expectations, and that's one of the things. I don't like using the word expectation because when you do that, you kind of set up for failure. So I'm trying to figure out how to balance the Marine Corps drive for excellence and the corporate drive for do the minimum, and
Yeah, right.
where how I define it without calling it an expectation and setting myself up to be disappointed. I'm trying to
Yeah,
figure all that out.
it's interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting take. Yeah. Well, I got a whole bunch of coding to. So I'm trying to automate. On Project Broken Mirror, I created some good shit last Thursday, but it was so draining. I mean, it was a marathon session that I haven't picked it up again since Thursday. So I don't know. I don't know if you usually when you pick something up like that, it takes a good 30 minutes to 45 minutes, maybe an hour to get back into it again. Get your mindset, get focused again. And then, you know, if I don't have a wife around to stop me, I could go for probably a couple days, but that's not healthy. But then I have to put it down. And then I got to find another, 3, 4 hours to make it worth the time to pick that up again. And I haven't had 3, 4 hours to dig into it again. Unless I was just coding. That was the thing I was doing. And that's just what I do for a job every single day. That'd be different. But
There's no such thing as coding anymore, man. They're vibe coders, bro.
it's a vibe coder. What the fuck is that?
It's the term they're using now. Posted a funny meme about vibe coding. When you get the MFA message, like put your code in here. They're making fun of vibe coders because they put a picture like, okay, put your code in here, and then the text says, "This is your code 67234 whatever," and we sent it to your mobile phone. So like it's on the web page already,
Wow.
even though they sent like that's yeah,
Is that vibe coding? Redundant shit like that?
laziness,
Oh.
reusing code,
Why do we call it vibe coding? Just call it
AI,
lazy.
because it's all about vibes, man. Vibes
We
is
should
what
get into
makes it
that. That'd
good.
be a great topic too.
Yep,
Just,
vibe coding.
no,
So
not vibe coding. That sounds stupid. I mean, it's not stupid. It's not because you said it, but because I don't like the name, like vibe coding. Like I feel like am I supposed to do that when I'm high?
the world is all about energy and vibing, and
Really?
that's what the
So I need some
generations are talking.
crystals. If I want to get into vibe coding, I got to get some crystals, light some
Talk to,
incense.
talk to Lydia about vibing. She'll be
I
able
ain't
to
talking to
educate
Lydia, but
you.
I will not take advice from a 20-year-old on anything. Yeah,
That's what all the young
I can't
kids are
think of
doing.
any perspective that a 20-year-old provides to me that I'm like, oh, I really need that
That's
in my
valuable.
life. I mean, I respect her perspectives for sure, right? You're struggling with this, working through that. I get that stuff, but like, yeah, I'm not coming to you for advice. Can't think of anything like, hey, how can I budget? Can you help me with budgeting? I'm having trouble getting motivated for work, honey. What advice do you have?
Just find a dad. He'll just let you live there.
Yeah, totally. All right. So Project Broken Mirror, we'll have to talk about that sometime too, because yeah, we got a lot of work to do on that. All right. Anything else to add, Matt, on healing is not linear? Or do you think it is linear? I suppose I never even asked you. I just fucking assumed I was going to speak for you on this.
I no, I'm pretty sure it's not linear. I agree on that perspective, but I think just saying that's not linear isn't going far enough. I think what we talked about with it being different for everybody is really the thing to drive home to the point. A isn't for everybody. There's other groups out there, other outlets, other way to do things, and it's just like everyone trying to break into the industry. Like, tell me the right way to do it. There is no right way. The right way is what works for you.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, definitely good point. And I think, especially nowadays, man, it seems like every day people in general, and I'm generalizing, I get that, but it seems like more and more people are just so quick to fucking judge other people. You know what I mean? Like, well, you don't, like, fuck, it's crazy. There's so many like examples of that, of you just rush to judgment, like, oh, you don't do this, well, you're stupid, or, especially when you talk about political bullshit, it's like I've had some of the greatest discussions with people that are complete opposite with me politically. And the thing I've gotten from it is an appreciation and a respect for why they believe what they believe. There's a lot of people that I think don't have never really given the thought to why they think what they think. It's usually driven by like emotion, so we talk about social engineering too.
Family, friends, like
Yeah.
inner circle influence stuff.
Yeah. And not given the opportunity to critically think for themselves. And so then, you ask them, tell me more about, this thing that you believe that you're so fucking passionate about. And when they can't defend it, like I said before, usually they change the subject. And if I'm interested enough in driving there, I'll remind them that you just changed the fucking subject. Like, we're not talking about the thing we were just talking about now. We're talking about something different. They either do that though, or they attack my character. Somehow I've now become a bigot because I don't understand what the fuck you're saying. It's weird.
You have to find the right people. Like those conversations are great if it's the right person. Otherwise, I got a couple in my family that they're just like impossible.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of times that's an emotion driven response. I've learned so much about like psychology. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know shit. Just personal observations and talking with
You know a
people.
lot about rocks, though.
No,
Hell
fucking
yeah.
rocks. No, I just throw them at people. Slingshots, stuff like that. So what
What
Matt's
about
referring to is my major in college was geology. I was talking to a guy today too. Then we'll wrap this thing up, man. I was talking to another guy today. He was that event thing that I was telling you about. I don't. Drew made me go to it, and there was this dude, and he's like, I'm like, so what do you do? For a living and stuff. And he's like, oh, I write code for. I'm really interested in financial things like capital markets and whatever, wealth management. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool shit. And he's like, do you know much about financial stuff? I'm like, yeah, I mean, I do, but so I had, I wasn't bragging, but when I was 20 years old, I passed my Series 7 and 63, and I was a stockbroker for 10 months. Did you know that? You knew that.
we talked about it?
Yeah. He's like, he looked at me like, what the fuck? Really? I'm like, yeah. I was working straight commission, so I didn't make any money. I only made 2 stock sales in that 10 months, 100 cold calls a day. That
But
was
you
my
passed the
quota.
exam.
Yeah, I did pass the exam, which required me to know a lot about financials. But and the 2 customers I had, one was my mom. She took pity on me and bought 500 shares of CE Software. It's a software company out of, I don't know if they're still in business. It was in Iowa. They wrote software for the old Macintosh. Crazy shit. All right. Anyway, ADHD stuff,
Craziness.
did all that stuff. For people that are listening and you're still here, Matt and I, we do this, one, to support each other and just to get this shit off our chest, but also because we care. If you're struggling, if you're healing, if you find any inspiration, let us know, man. If we can do something better, if we can help you out, if we can offer you any encouragement, let us know. We know that if you're in information security, great. If you're not in this industry, great. It doesn't matter. You're still a fucking person. And if you're in this industry and you're struggling with some of these issues, I can relate. Matt can probably relate. Love to hear from you. Love to hear what your perspective is and the things maybe that you're struggling with when you're comfortable doing that. That's part of the healing process too, is getting that shit off your chest, getting that shit out there and dealing with it.
Amen.
Amen. You put a quote in the notes that I thought was really cool. I'm just going to say it. And we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Healing isn't linear. That's the point. but quitting is. Fucking mic drop right there. I just dropped the mic. Did you hear it? That's it.
All right, don't forget subscribe.
I already clicked the end.
Shit.
I know.
You dropped it right on the drop thing. Okay,
I
perfect.
did. I was like, boom, motherfucker,
Timed
we're
it.
out of here.